Yo guys, what's up? Sleepio here. Today I have my raid build for you, or the build I played in the raid most of the time. It's an AR build as you can see, but I also want to say that that is not the best AR build you can make in this patch. At least not for the raid. For every other PvE content besides the raid, that is probably one of the best, or if not the best AR build in my opinion. But for the raid especially, there's one AR build that is way better. But I don't have the right pieces for it yet. That's why I make this AR build first, and then the best AR build later at one point when I have all the pieces. So as always, let's start with the specialization. I choose to go for the sharpshooter because I'm playing AK, and the stability you get from sharpshooter helps a lot with the AK because the AK is not that stable compared to the P416, so that stability from sharpshooter is really helpful. But you also have 30% reload speed, which is really good, and then 25% headshot damage, which is alright for every content besides the raid, because a few bosses in the raid don't have heads, so you can't do headshot damage. So that talent is not the best, but for most of the content in the game, for most of the PvE content, headshot damage is obviously really good. If you don't want to run sharpshooter though, you could run survivalist because you get the 10% AR damage. And also the best medkit in the game. And the crossbow is really, really good for the raid, but for all the other PvE content, it's not so good. So it really depends on what you are playing. Let's get into the build now. As always, let's start with the guns. So as I said, I'm using AK as my main gun. Either military or black market AK is fine, just not a normal classic AK, because that one doesn't have a muzzle, I think. You could also use a P416 though, that's fine. But I personally like the AK more, I think. As tenants, you want, with that build, Optimist and either Rate of Fire, Optimized, or Extra. So either Weapon Handling, Extra Rate of Fire, or Mag Size. Those are the three talents I would go for. The Holster talent, as always, is not that important, so just go whatever here. To my mods now. As a scope, I have a C79 scope, which gives me extra damage to elites. You could also go for the normal damage to elite scope, that gives you 8%, but doesn't have the option to zoom in. But since I swap the secondary sometimes between the Shadowbox and the Nemesis, I just stay with that scope because I don't want to swap scopes all the time as well. As a mag, I have the sturdy extended mag, which gives me plus 20 rounds. You can only get that from the weekly projects or that new project where you can donate materials every day now. So it's just RNG if you can get it or not. I got it luckily, so I used that. If you don't have that, then just use a 10-round mag, which is also fine. On the underbarrel, I have accuracy, and on the muzzle, I have, again, 5% damage to elites, because why not, right? As a secondary, you have multiple options. So either the Shadowbox, because of the passive talent or holster talent, while holstered, reloading a weapon within 5 seconds after a kill grants 20% rate of fire. So that is a really good passive talent, probably even the best. Or you go for the Nemesis, preparation, while holstered, gain 25% headshot damage when scoped with your current weapon. That's why I have that C79 scope, because that works together and you don't have to go in first person. So that's additional 25% headshot damage. To my gear pieces now. So that is a little bit tricky. As you can see already, I have 3-piece Gila Guard again. Gila Guard is just for the mods to get 577. My mask is a China mask with damage to elites and cooldown reduction and the talent hard hitting. As attribute, it's important to have a high damage to elite roll here, and for my build specifically, you want cooldown reduction to get the 7 utility for on the ropes. As talent, as I said, either hard hitting, or you could also go for spotter if you have somebody with a pulse in your group, but you shouldn't play spotter and on the ropes together for yourself. As solo, you shouldn't go for spotter because either spotter or on the ropes is inactive all the time, so you can't have both at the same time, which is not that good. So yeah, either spotter or hard hitting, you gotta decide. The chest is a pretty important piece to the build. First it is a Fenris chest, so I get 10% AR damage from that. As attributes, you want skill power, weapon damage and armor here. Weapon damage and armor as high as possible. The talents are unstoppable force and hard hitting. You could also go for hardened here. Either are fine. As mods, I have a generic system mod, but since it's an offensive system mod, you could also go for a normal offensive system mod with high AR damage. But I actually don't have a single offensive mod with higher AR damage than 5%. So that's pretty sad, I have to say. But what can I do? That's why I just use a generic mod here. The holster is a DH. What's important with that one is that it's a Mora holster, because with the Mora holster you get skill power, or like a utility attribute, and also a utility system mod slot, which you could then mod with a generic system mod and get 5% AR damage here. Pretty strong, and yeah. Generic mods didn't get nerfed that much, as you can see. Before the patch it was 6%, now it's just 5%, so they got reduced by 1%. Not a big deal to me, to be honest. As talents, you either go for precise or devastating. My backpack is a Gila Guard backpack. Gila Guard gives me 5% total armor as 1 piece, as 2 piece, 20% hazard protection, and the 3 piece is useless. My attributes on the backpack are armor, cooldown reduction, weapon damage. The weapon damage is sadly super low, but if you get a god roll, you have on the ropes hardened, and then you can re-roll either the armor to a really high amount or the weapon damage to a really high amount. Doesn't matter if you have skill power or cooldown reduction here, really, but it has to be defensive utility and offensive as attributes. The Gila Guard backpack also has 2 mods, a defensive system mod and a utility protocol mod. In the defensive mod, I have a generic mod with AR damage. You could also go for more armor here. Just boost up your armor and you will get more damage from Unstoppable Force. If you don't have the generic mods, right? And as utility mod, I also have a generic mod, but 3% extra headshot damage is not that much, so that doesn't give me a big advantage, to be honest. My gloves are also Gila Guard, and they are pretty straightforward. They just have health and assault rifle damage. Sadly, the assault rifle damage is kept at 8, because those gloves are 450 year score. I never got a better pair. Pretty sad, to be honest, for the amount I farmed in this game, but it is what it is. So you want health or hazard protection on the gloves, and any offensive roll, but you want to be able to reroll it to AR damage. That means you want the talent to be either devastating, precise, or probably hard hitting. I have devastating right here, which is fine, but precise would also be okay for me. And the Gila Guard gloves also have a utility protocol mod, which again I modded with a generic protocol mod that gives me headshot damage. Lastly, my knee pads, they are also Gila Guard. As attribute, you just want armor here, not health, not armor on kill, either armor or total armor. I think total armor is better if you have over 250k armor already. If not, then a flat armor roll will most of the time be better, if the percentage armor is not super insanely high. The talent is pretty easy, you just want hard hitting here, nothing else for a PvE build. As mods, you have 2 defensive mod, 1 system and 1 protocol. In the protocol mod, I went for health, because 3% headshot damage versus 8800 health and some extra incoming healing. That's no question, you just need to go for health here to boost up your health a bit. Because the robot dogs from the Black Tusk, at least the gold ones, deal bleed damage, and that goes directly to your health, and if your pool is not big enough, you die a lot against that. So yeah, like around 40 to 50k is the minimum you want. And in the defense mod, again, I have a generic system mod with AR damage. I have a lot of those, so if you don't have them, just go for normal mods. You're gonna be fine as well. That's probably 20 or 25% damage overall I just get from generic mods, but that is not the build. Do my skills real quick. So I would use the booster hive, because you can just deploy it, get the 20% movement speed, and then destroy it to get on the ropes. My mods are, I guess they are not that important, but I go over them anyways. So I have an auxiliary battery with nearly 1k hive skill power, pretty good. Then I have 13% extra charges and 30% health. So basically both of those are completely useless, because I don't care about charges or health. And as main skill, as always, I have the Chem Launcher Reinforcer mod. In that one I also have an auxiliary battery, and then a mod with +4 ammo, which puts my ammo to 7. That's pretty useful. In the end, I also wanted to show my stat sheet. So with the AK that I have equipped right now, I have 0 crit chance, 101 headshot damage, 20% reload speed, only 15 accuracy, but the AK is pretty bad on long range anyway, so I only use it at mid and short range. On long range, it's just not good. Then I have 15 weapon handling though, which is pretty good. 19.5 all weapon damage bonus, and then 37 AR damage bonus without survivalist. So I could get that to 40% if my generic mods would be a little bit better, and if my glove roll would be better. So on the gloves you can get like 12%, and my generic mods, I think I have 2 with just 4%. So they could be a little bit higher. And also the weapon damage could be easily on 30, because on the backpack I missed 10%, and the chest could also be 15%. So yeah, my overall damage could be a lot higher, but it's still pretty good how it is right now. And to top it off, I have 83% damage to elites. And that's it. That's the build. That is the build I played for the most time in the raid. Just in the end, I swapped to a different build that I, as I said, don't have anymore. But the build I swapped to was just a 8-8 build without on the ropes, just berserk and full offensive and just some survivability. So nothing really special. But as I said in the beginning, I'm working on a better AR build right now. But I wanted to put out something for a build because that build is still really, really good for the raid. But there is a better build. Just wanted to mention that. In today's video, you won't see gameplay. If you want gameplay, then just watch the 5-hour raid video I uploaded. I think you will find enough gameplay in that one because I played that build like the first 2 hours, I think. So yeah, no gameplay in the end of that video. I will link the raid video in the description and the comments though. Thanks for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!